Well, I'm back with yet another Polestar 4, but I'm taking this one on a road trip. But first, let's talk price and range, and this chamber of grandeur will set you back $120,000, which is a fair amount of change, but you do get a fair amount of range. 610 k's per charge, on paper anyway. Let's see if that is accurate. And we are off. We are leaving home. It is 9:25 in the morning, and we have one heck of a road trip in front of us. Today, I'm going to be leaving my home here in Te Kuiti, going all the way down to Taumaranui, and then across to Turangi, around the bottom of Lake Taupo, through Taupo, up to Rotorua, going around the back of Lake Rotorua, all the way across the North Island, back here to Te Kuiti. Now, the car says I've got 503 k's of range, based on my current driving style, which is enthusiastic. So let's see how accurate that is. The journey today is just shy of 500 kilometers. However, unlike driving in comfortable traffic and slow-moving flat roads, this is going to be intense. Every part of this journey is high speed, hilly, mountainous, twisty, likely stuck behind caravans and stock trucks and little old ladies and roadworks, you know what it's like. So how accurate that's going to be, I've no idea. Watch this space. The thing is, I put this route into a Better Route Planner, which is a great guide for people who want to do road trips in electric cars. It does all the thinking for you. And it says it can't be done. Not without at least 2 charging stops. Now, I don't want to stop and charge. I want to see how far this car can really go. So, wish me luck. Now, the first stretch from here in Te Kuiti all the way to Taumaranui is going to possibly be the scariest part, because this is the part that's going to eat the range. It's the hilliest, twistiest section out of the entire day. So this will dictate whether or not I need to stop and charge somewhere today. Let's find out. For now though, as I leave Te Kuiti, let's talk tech specs. And I had the pleasure last week of driving the all-wheel drive version of the Polestar 4, and that thing is brutal. 0 to 100 in 3.6 seconds. But at the same time, the acceleration doesn't knock you into the seat. It just thrusts you along the whole time. It befits the car because it's befits. I like that word. Wow, where did that word come from? Befits. It's very posh. It suits the car because the car is very refined, so is the acceleration. This one is a little bit more civilized. 0 to 100 is 7.1 seconds, which, as I get into this passing lane behind this truck, is effectively useless. Come on, diesels, let's go. As for battery size though, this has the exact same battery as the dual motor version. It has a 100 kilowatt hour battery pack underneath it, which is a strikingly big battery pack. That's why it gets officially 610 k's per charge according to the WLTP cycle. But if you've watched my videos, you know that I don't trust the WLTP official cycle. In the real world, in New Zealand on the open road, you're going to get much less than that. I typically suggest take the WLTP range of your car, take 15% off, that's your real world range, which is still more than 500 k's for this car. And that I'm not quite sure is going to be realistic. I think we'll be lucky to get 500. Let's crack into it. I'll see you for a coffee in Taumaranui. And welcome to Taumaranui. We have just covered 84 kilometers. And my efficiency so far, it's saying we are using 20.6 kilowatt hours per 100k. So in short, it says we are not going to make it. So stay tuned. First of all, I need to find a coffee, and then we shall talk comfort. And apparently there's a really good cafe around here running out of a little caravan. Mission accomplished. Look at that. Got me a coffee in a keep cup. Now we can test the cup holders in the car. Oh, look at that. That is perfect. Okay, we're off. Next stop is Turangi, which is 66 k's away. It says we'll get there with 71%. I don't have a lot of hope. Now let's talk comfort, and these seats are ridiculously comfortable. There's a lot of room as well. Despite there being quite good lateral support, they're designed for bigger people, which is nice. You feel like there's plenty of room to move around, and there's also heaps of headroom above my head. How much headroom there is? Same goes for the back. The legroom and the headroom in the back is phenomenal, and one of the reasons for that is that they've got rid of the rear window. That means that not only is the boot higher, but so is the roofline. It means that even if you're 6'1", maybe 6'2", you can still fit in the back of this car and ride with comfort. Another thing this car has is it's got ventilated seats in both the front seats, and it's got seated heats. Yep, both the front seats and the back seats have seat heating built in. It's brilliant. Plus, you show signs of being tired. Take a break. No, I'm just old. But now that we're on the highway, I can talk about the ride comfort as well. And I tell you what, This thing just rides like it's on a cloud. The suspension is so magnificent. Like, remember when you were a kid and you used to fall asleep in the back seat of mum or dad's car? This could be a health hazard because you could fall asleep while driving. Well, you can't actually, because it's got cameras here and cameras here monitoring me, and it tells me, as you saw, if I'm getting tired. I'm not, but it's brilliant. The ride is sublime. I'm sure I'll find something to hate about it by the end of this video, but right now, this is just the ultimate road tripping car. I love it. But enough blabbering. I've got my coffee, I've got many kilometers in front of me, and now I will see you in Turangi for a little kiwi treat. And welcome to Turangi. We've made it, and actually I made a mistake. I shaved off a lot of distance because I followed the map and it bypassed national parks. So I probably shaved off like 30 or 40 kilometers. I'll make up for it. Don't worry, I'll take a detour on the way back around. But right now I'm going to find myself a kiwi treat, and then we'll talk about space. Success. I've got myself a little slice of kiwi history. This is a lolly cake. It's got like caramelly malty cakiness with marshmallow bits in it. I think this is an actual kiwi invention. Can any cakeologist confirm? But anyway, now that I've got this, let's hit the road, and then I will tell you all about space. I love that you just get in and drive with this thing. There's no keys or start buttons or anything. Just get straight in, drop it into drive, and you're off. All right, let's head north to Topor, and now let's talk space. And this car is deceptively large. You look at pictures of the outside, and it doesn't look that big. It looks like a mid-sized sedan. It is big. It is long. It's almost 5 meters long, this thing. Now what's interesting is that space translates well into the cockpit. There's a lot of room in here, as I mentioned earlier in the video, but there's also a lot of boot space. Now I had the dual motor version earlier, and this is footage from the dual motor version, showing the amount of space in the boot. The Mafia test shows that at least there's room for 2 humans, 2 potato enthusiasts, plus drop the seats down, look at all the room you've got. It is monstrous. And if that's not enough, don't worry, there's even more room up the front, because if you pop the bonnet, there is a fartment, but it's a tiny little fartment. It's not really big enough for much more than a handful of potatoes, although you could fit my self-loathing in there, I think. But enough about space, let's head north to Topor, because there I want to talk about gadgets. And welcome to Topor. We've made it, and now I want to find a nice little spot to pull over here by the lakeside and show you some of the cool gadgets that this car has. All right, let's start with this big thing right in front of me, the 15-inch touch screen display. I'm going to use 2 cameras here. How cool is that? Okay, so you can see here in front of me, there's a display, right? It's also connected to the Google Store because this whole system runs on Android Automotive. So you log in with your Google account, and this is essentially an extension of your cell phone. So you've got, for example, Google Play, which you can load your own devices in. Click on that, and you can download apps straight to your car. You can treat this like a giant tablet. You can get all kinds of apps. You know, it's got Spotify built in, YouTube, just about any car-related app you can think of, and a lot of non-car related stuff. It's brilliant, but because it also runs on Android Automotive, it's got Google Maps as standard. And this is the best thing about this car. Same goes for Tesla cars, Volvo cars, and Polestar cars. They all tell you exactly what your charge will be when you get to your destination. And if you're doing a multi-point trip or maybe just going a long way, it'll tell you where to charge and for how long to charge. It's also got a really cool parking camera system. Look at the definition in this. It's like you're playing Grand Theft Auto 6 or something. It's insane. But the piece of resistance for this car, because it's got no rear window, it has this. This is a display running off a camera on the back of the car, and the definition is insane. Look at that. You can see this lady with a pram. Look, it showed me her before she even showed up, because the display, the width of display on this is out of this world. It's got more width than a regular mirror, which means that there's no blind spots. And if you turn on the indicator, for example, turn this on, watch what happens. See how it goes to the left a little bit? It just gives you even more space. Now, as good as that is, I still prefer a traditional mirror, because with this, you don't have what I think is called the parallax effect, where, you know, where you move your head, the angle changes slightly. You can see things that you can't normally see. Polestar said that it'll take the average person between 2 hours and a week or so to adapt to using this display. And I was hoping I wouldn't adapt, so it would be really fun and have something to whinge about. But no, actually, I adapted to it in less than a day. So it's pretty easy. The only complaint I have tech related to this car is that sometimes I get an error and it won't let me use the cruise control. And I don't know why that is. Maybe there's a bug splattered on the camera system perhaps, but I have had that error a couple of times now. That's annoying. Now as I sit here in this beautiful, comfortable machine with a fantastic view, I want to draw your attention to the speakers. This has a Harman Kardon sound system. Because this car comes with the Plus pack and the Pilot pack, it means that all Polestar 4s in New Zealand come as standard with the 16 speaker Harman Kardon sound system. But perhaps one of the coolest gadgets this car comes with is vehicle to load. The adapters are on the way, so stay tuned for that. And also another thing these cars have, or will have very soon, is vehicle to home or vehicle to grid capability, which means that in the daytime, with your solar panels on your roof, you fill up your car, and then at nighttime, you can use the electricity in the battery bank to charge your house, to run your appliances, run your heat pumps. Just run it all night long. So effectively with this car, if you've got the right wall box to connect the car to your house, you never have to pay for electricity again. Now, I know that sounds like science fiction, but it's real and it's coming to New Zealand. In fact, I have to be careful what I say, but Ecotricity, what I can say is that they're working on it. So hit the subscribe button, because when that tech rolls out, I will be all over it like a limpet mine on a submarine. That is a weird analogy. But enough talking, let us hit the road again, because now we are heading to Rotorua. Another leg completed. You join me here in Hamurana. It's a tiny little township on the top end of Lake Rotorua, and I'm stopping here because, well, it's on the route, and also because there's a dairy here that, according to Google, has really good Indian snacks. And I've got to say, the food today has not hit the spot. I'm getting hungry. Let's stop here for a bite to eat, and then we will talk design. Mission accomplished, sort of. I got something from the dairy. Unfortunately, it's 2:15 in the afternoon, so obviously I'm after the lunch rush, so not much was left, but apparently they did have a good supply before I got there. Okay, let's talk design now, and I like the style of this car. It's not radical, it's not wild, it may be a little conservative, but still, I think it's a well-proportioned car with all the angles in the right place. Just, what are you staring at? Oh, the guy's staring at the car. I was wondering why this guy's looking at me. So this thing turns heads. This is exactly what I'm talking about. The amount of heads that have turned when I've been driving along. People pointing. Had a few waves. Waves in a car like this. Who would have thought? Something about this design hits the spot. Like I said, it's not wild like a Ferrari, but I think it's decisive. I also think this car is going to age nicely. I mean, you look at, for example, cars from 30 years ago or so, like a late 90s Mazda 626. And it's not an ugly car, but it's a bit bland. However, if you compare it to, say, a BMW of the same era, I think the BMW has aged much more gracefully, and I think this will as well. I think in about 15 years from now, this will look really good. Now, I mentioned earlier that the proportions make it look like a mid-sized car, and actually it's a large car. And I think part of the reason for that is the high boot. One of the reasons they've managed to get a high boot without making it look weird is they've obviously got rid of the rear window. Same thing with the back room. See, there's another guy looking at me as they're walking past. It really does attract attention. Major, I have decided to park next to a walkway, so it's inevitable. But yeah, they've got rid of the rear window, which again gives you more room in the back, makes the back higher. I think that also makes it look a little bit more proportioned. Another interesting byproduct of not having a rear window is that when you get a car parked behind you, say at the lights or at roadworks, you can see every detail of their face, but they can't see you looking at them, and it feels a little bit odd. It makes me a little uncomfortable. However, it is bad news for Ford Ranger drivers who like to tailgate right up your backside, because they can't see what impact they're having by being right up your backside. As far as you're concerned, it doesn't make a difference. So, better living, everyone. As for the interior design, I like it. It's different from the Polestar 2, in which you are very cocooned in the car. The dash is quite high. This is a little lower, and also you've got much more room. I also like the color. This is slightly off teal, perhaps. It's not grey. It's not cream, and I like the use of textures as well. They put a lot of effort into the interior design. It really shows. Like the sewing work along here, the different fabrics and textiles. It's a real work of art in here. Another design aspect that's worth mentioning, as I gesticulate with my chicken cordon bleu, is the user interface. It's one of my favorites. For example, if you look at the menu here, you can see that they've used only really 3 different font sizes to make it super simple. There's a lot of space between all the information, and finding the info is generally pretty easy. In fact, I'm going to introduce a new test, which I've decided to call the RAT test, R-A-T, to see how long it takes for me to find 3 things in the menu. Okay, now I haven't rehearsed this, so this could be a disaster. Okay, I'm going to use my phone here so you can see what I'm doing, but basically the RAT test I've just improvised is recirculate the air. How easy is that to do? Because I do that a lot. Change the audio settings, because every time I get in a car, the previous reviewer has had the bass turned up to maximum, Philistines. And then lastly, T, trip computer, or turn on the cameras, whichever is easier. First of all, let's start with R, recirculate the air. Okay, go into aircon. Yeah, there, right there. Okay, that's easy. Next one, audio settings. Adjust the audio. Audio. Okay, cool. Equalizer. How's the bass? Normal. Good. Okay, next one, turn on the trip computer. That's going to be in this button, I think. Trip meter. There we go. Actually, that's pretty fast. Let's compare it to the next car I have and see if I can do any better. Because some cars are really easy to use. Some, Volkswagen, I'm looking at you, they can be a bit of a challenge to learn. But that's it for design. It's a really well laid out car. It's intelligently designed, it's intelligently built, it turns heads. But now I have much more driving to do, so let me enjoy my snack and then we'll hit the road. We're on the road again, but because I made a bit of a shortcut this morning by mistake, I'm now going to pad some extra kilometers into this trip by going home via Hamilton. Let's see if we make it. Truth be told, during this trip, I've actually not driven lightly at all. Like, hand on heart, I've driven this car properly. No hypermiling, no relaxing, no worrying about range, just go, go, go. I started the day with a heater going, I've now got the air conditioning going. I promise you, I've driven this hard. So whatever Ks we get today will be genuine worst case scenario. But despite all the driving I've been doing today, not once have I worried about running out of electricity, because New Zealand now has so many rapid chargers installed and more going in every month. In fact, if you're going to get an electric car, first thing you should do is sign up with ChargeNet. They are New Zealand's largest charging provider. And by signing up with them, it means you can now drive anywhere a car can go running off electricity. It's fantastic. We've come such a long way. But if you want to charge at home, like 85% of all Kiwis do, then you're going to need to watch a video I made about all the ins and outs of charging, how simple it is, how hard it is, what your options are, and how much it all costs. I'll put a link to that underneath this video. But right now, let's head to Hamilton. Good news, we are in Hamilton. Possibly the first time anyone's ever said that. Now that we're here, let's get out of here. Welcome to Ngaruawahia. Yep, we've bypassed Hamilton. I decided to go further north to give myself a real challenge. Now I'm in Ngaruawahia with 24% charge remaining. Will I make it home? It's a long way, 90 kilometers to go on 24% charge. Wish me luck. Well, how about that? We are back in the bustling metropolis of Te Kuiti, and while these cars in front of me are pulling into the petrol station, I don't need that because I've been operating all on one charge. And the best thing about this whole wasteful, pointless trip is that it's guilt-free. That's because this car is running off Ecotricity electricity. And if you haven't heard of Ecotricity, they are New Zealand's only climate-positive electricity provider. That means all the electricity they source is from wind, hydro, solar, nothing else. Only clean, renewable stuff. Right now, it's Friday night. I'm going to go into my driveway, plug this thing in, and run off climate-positive, off-peak power because I'm on the EcoSaver plan, which means all weekend, it's off-peak. Yep, I get cheap electricity the whole weekend, so let's go plug this in, get it charged up, and then we'll do the Spud score. Starting with performance, and while it's no slouch, the single motor version won't require a neck brace when you put your foot down, so I'm awarding it an average 5 potatoes. Handling's next, and while it is built for comfort, the car's suspension and low center of gravity will surprise you on the corner, so I'm giving it 7 spuds. Speaking of comfort, it gets a rare 10 spuds, because even on our lunar surface roads, this thing just glides. The seats are great too, as is the noise insulation. Even after driving this thing for 8 hours, my crumbling elderly body felt surprisingly good. So if you're going to take a big road trip, please take one of these smooth machines. You will love it, but it will make all other cars feel like driving a Lada Niva. But let's talk efficiency, and considering its size and weight, it only used around 19 kilowatt hours per 100 Ks, which thanks to its supersized battery means you'll likely get at least 540 Ks per charge no matter how hard you drive it. Gadgetry is next, and it gets a high 8 spuds. I mean, it's got just about everything you could want, even in the back, and soon it'll have vehicle to load and vehicle to home. But is it good value? Well, at 120 grand a pop, it's not exactly cheap, so I can only give it 4 spuds. As for charging speed, officially it can hit 200 kilowatts peak, but I only managed 135, which isn't bad, and it means a 10 to 80% top up took me 35 minutes, which is a fair trade after 8 hours of high speed driving. Let's talk style while now, and considering I have a face like a dropped pavlova, I'm in no position to make judgments, but I will anyway. I think it's a good-looking machine with clean lines and decisive angles, and if it were a house, Kevin MacLeod would be fawning all over it, so I'm giving this grand design 8 spuds. But is it fit for purpose? Well, I think more yes than no. Its width would make it tricky in some Wellington streets, but if you need a big, stylish family car that can traverse the country without breaking a sweat, then look no further. But forget all the other metrics, PSC is what matters, and I'm sad to say the Polestar 4 lets me down somewhat here, holding just 54 potatoes in its dashboard. For comparison, that's 13 fewer than the Mercedes EQS, so it pains me to award the Polestar just 5 spuds in this pivotal benchmark, which gives the single-motor Polestar 4 a total spud score of 70. Now let's see how far we've done according to the trip computer. Okay, so it says we've done 502 kilometres. I've actually done 15 k's more than that because I forgot to reset the trip meter until I was 15 k's away. So we've actually done 517 kilometres on one charge, and I promise you, those have been hard kilometres. Heavy right foot driving. Honestly, I promise you I've driven it hard. I've been overtaking things. The only time I've been going at a moderate pace is when I've been stuck behind a truck or a caravan or a slow car, and then I've overtaken them. I'm really impressed how far I've got out of this thing. I've got 7% charge left. I'm very, very impressed with what we've achieved out of this car.